All right. What's going on, YouTube? It is I, 130 SOS Podcast, Tenzin, and I'm here with our guest, free to be me, aka Edith. Uh,
Hello.
she is
Hello.
a member of Black Nonbelivers,
Yes.
and yeah. Uh, please go ahead and introduce yourself as well, because if anybody knows you, it's you. So,
Well, hey YouTube. This is your girl Edith. Free to be me, and I am a just your normal, average, everyday, empty nester, living that single life here in the southeast. Um, what else can I
single
say?
life.
Sorry.
You said single life.
Yeah, yeah, enjoying that. So
Let me
yeah,
keep that
how
in
did I?
mind.
So, where should I start? It's a long story because I am old and I could ramble on for hours, but I don't want to bore anybody. So, suffice it to say, I grew up in a military family. Did the whole married with kids thing. Now they're grown, and now I am towards the end of my professional career and enjoying these last few years. I have my sweet dog Ebony. I have made
Hey.
new friends in this era of life. Joined a group called, as Tenzin had mentioned, joined a group called Black Nonbelivers. I am the co-host of the show In the Cut, which airs every first and third Saturday. And yeah, just enjoying life and enjoying being with my family. My family is close now after years of estrangement, so it's been great reconnecting with my brother, sister, mother. And so, yes, I'm just looking forward to this next chapter in life and continuing the work,
Hmm.
whatever the work is.
Okay. And, and you always have the freedom to say pass if it's a question you don't want to answer. But but when you say estrangement, like what caused that? Like y'all just like long lost, or you fell out? Like what happened?
So the estrangement, it wasn't that severe, but it was caused by my choice in a marital partner. You see, this person was a very controlling person. Um,
Mm.
and so apart from living far away, I only saw my folks maybe once or twice a year, and I had children. And so, yeah, he was quite controlling. But after a while, I figured out what his game was, and then I was off. So,
Okay. So that's interesting. So like, and obviously, when you first met him, he wasn't gonna say, "Yeah, I'm very controlling." What I say goes. I know he sold himself pretty well, but like what was the what were some of the warning signs you just started to see? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a little odd. Why the fuck did he want me to do that? Like,
it's crazy. It's crazy. It took me years to figure out that this was not right. I mean, and it just came to a point. I guess I was so busy raising the kids and doing the two car, mortgage, house, dog, cat, two kids, middle class
the
lifestyle that I really,
American dream.
yeah, right, living the American dream. That and that keeps you occupied to the point where you can't even have time to do any self reflection. So as the kids got older, there were quiet days in the house, and I'm thinking, this seems off. Something's off, right? And I had other inklings when my father passed that things weren't right. And I had tried to
Mm.
break away a couple of times before, but I was afraid, such a big change after being married so long was going to be a very big, I was worried. He made twice as much as I did. I was, that's a very scary proposition after being married for so long to make such a drastic change. So, but finally, I started seeing the signs and checking it and checking it again.
Mm.
And then I finally decided I'm not going to be afraid of what happens because I want to live as my moniker is there. I want to be free to be me. And
So, so okay, interesting. So I guess he was more so controlling, like financially. Like, was he like the breadwinner or something like that?
he was, and it wasn't that he was controlling with it. Well, in a weird sort of way. Um, Sometimes financial abuse is just spending on things that aren't necessary. Um,
Hmm.
you might, I'm not, like on average, there was another car in the driveway every year for 10 years. And then when it came time for the kids to go to school, we are like, what?
Oh,
So
interesting.
things like that. And I'm
He was
not saying
bad
I'm
with
the,
money.
so things like that. And so you I think it's true what they say that you really do have to find a partner who really matches you on finances, and your philosophy on finances really
Mhm.
has to match, and that was not the case there. So they say that's the biggest cause of divorce too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, well, I never enjoyed the married life yet, so I mean, so I have no comments on it. I mean, I'm glad you was able to see the signs, better late than never, and you was able to break away.
Yep. Yep.
But but now you said, you're now free to be you. So like, it's like what? Like, did he like control how you dress, or did he just, or more so
Well,
just like,
it's just yeah, no, I did not feel 100% free to express myself. You know, and I could see times when I did express myself or just show joy. This dude was jealous. He was like,
hmm,
it was very strange. But it's just interesting how I've never picked up on it before. But yeah, I started putting all these clues together, and it just was like, wow, I did not realize. And maybe that's because I think I had experienced that type of controlling behavior or manipulative figures in the past. So, had some of that growing up too. So that's why it just seemed like normal for the most part. But yeah, but now looking
okay,
back, like they say, hindsight is 2020.
right,
But
okay. So so let's focus on the on another abusive relationship you've had. With everyone's favorite abusive father known as Yahweh, aka God, aka Elohim. So
I was gonna say, wait, what?
so so you obviously you're a member of Black Nonbelievers. So what was your, and I remember you telling me you were a former theist. So what's your like religious background?
So my religious background is Protestant Christian. My mother was raised by a Baptist minister in Texas. My father was a Christian. Really didn't hear much about him going to church, but you know, he he also went to church. We went every Sunday. I became saved when I was 7 because I thought I had saw Jesus
So
Jesus Christ
okay,
one
so
day.
but that it was your decision, right? Like your parents weren't coaxing you into it or nothing like that,
Other
right?
than the fact that that you're 7 and you're in a whole room of people singing hymns and telling you about
Right.
Jesus, I mean, sure, sure. No, I thought that was yeah. I started crying the whole bit. I thought I saw Jesus
Wow.
during one of the songs was during one of the praise hymns. I
Okay,
was like,
so like what so like hmm. So it wasn't like the hooping and hollering church that most black people are used to.
so
Like,
yeah, when I was we were living in Virginia at the time. It was Dale City, Virginia. It's a little bit outside of DC, and it was a mixed congregation, black and white. It was a newer community outside of the DC metro area. I was 7. We went to church, and yeah, that's where I thought I saw Jesus, and
okay.
that made me cry. And then the preacher saw me crying and came over and hugged me, and he asked me if I wanted to give my life to the Lord, and I'm like, yes, I was 7.
What did if you can remember, what did Jesus look like to you? 7-year old.
He looked like a white man with stringy long hair, like a hippie. Hmm.
You know, I had an interesting like, Jesus experience. So I was taught about the white guy Jesus too, right? So, but it was weird. How old was I? I think I was like around your age when you got saved, maybe like a couple years older. But I had like this weird dream, which was like, okay, so backstory. You remember that cartoon Madeline?
I think I
I think it
heard
was
about
like
it. It
this.
was a feature film, right?
I think they did make a movie, but I think it
Hmm.
was like I don't know if they were like it was like this like little French girl, I guess, and like
Right,
I don't
right.
know if they're orphans or what. But anyway, like I had like this computer game based on it. So I went to bed and I had a
Mm.
dream that I was I don't know, I was a part of that class, even though it's supposed to be all girls, but whatever. I got lost and then, like I was like just scared and lost and I'm in like this redneck trailer and it's just Jesus sitting on a recliner just smoking a cigarette with like cartoon angels just be
Ah,
like,
that's hilarious.
"What's up?" Walk, go through there, and it was like a little tunnel, and I just went through and I found my classmates. It was like, what the fuck? Why did I? I guess because I'm Southern, like I just thought of Jesus like that. So
Sure.
I was
And
interesting.
yeah, I think it was later on. But I know, like in my grandmother's house, she had a photo of Jesus Christ, and it was a white man with the beard, and John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King. Those were, so I had a lot of influence behind me to think that that's what Jesus was supposed to be and look like.
Mhm. And
So
so like so I guess like upon like adulthood, like when you I guess like what like how strong in the faith were you?
it's hard to say. I mean, I believed it. I did. I believed it. You know, I believed the whole thing about Jesus and God for a long time. I can't remember exactly when. I think when I stopped going to church, when I became an adult, the Jesus part fell away. Then the religious people fell away. Like, I started complaining about church people. And then it wasn't until much later where I completely said, well, I don't think there's a God.
Hmm.
That happened in my 40s. So, but yeah, I was, I wouldn't say I was out trying to save souls for the Lord.
Okay,
I wasn't
okay.
that much into it. I was just trying to stay on the right side of not going to hell. I was like, oh, Jesus will watch
Right.
me.
Right.
Better not. But I still, for some reason, it didn't stop me from doing whatever nonsense.
Okay, so you was like okay, so you were like you was a Christian, but you were still like a normal person. Like you believed, but you weren't like
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when I was coming up in the late 70s, that was when backwards masking, where they would take a Led Zeppelin album, a perfectly good Led Zeppelin album, and play it backwards and tell you, "Hey, you hear the devil in there? He talking to you. That's the devil."
oh, that satanic panic or whatever.
Yes, yes. And I was
You
like,
know,
damn, that made me want to actually, then I was like, let me see
right.
what Led Zeppelin's about.
Yeah, like
um,
something is lit when the Christians are bitching about it. You know what I mean? Like and it's funny how every generation got that. Like even the poor Gen Z motherfuckers, right? Because Ben Shapiro, like if he's bitching about something, then they probably be like, oh, okay, he's complaining about it. It's got to be lit. So we, so
let me check that out.
yeah, because
And there's
like when I was a
one.
kid, like when I was a kid, it was Pokemon. Like they
I
were
kind of
satanic
remember that.
panicking
Yeah.
about Pokemon. It was because of
Yes.
evolution, and Harry
Mm.
Potter. Like there was some kids whose parents were so religious they couldn't even read Harry Potter, which I guess in hindsight they probably wasn't missing much. But
So I heard Harry Potter was actually just Star Wars revamped.
Yeah, it was like a lot of things too that you kind of uncover like in hindsight, like so in that world elves are like slaves to, you know, magical people. And one of the characters, Hermione, was like, well, this isn't right, we gotta free them. But
Mm,
now I don't think they cover that in the movies, but in the books
hmm.
she was looked at as, you know, I guess what would you call it, like I guess how we would call woke, you know what I mean? They're looking at her like, oh my god, girl, like like they looked at her as she was being ridiculous. I'm like, okay,
Which
one, two.
character?
Her name was Hermione.
Okay.
So so like the book, even like the way the book narrativized it, it treated her as if she was being overreactive, wanting to free, you know, sentient beings. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things. You're like, oh,
Interesting. Yeah, there's all
and
there's it's really interesting to read the to read behind between the lines and the subtext. Sometimes I get carried away with it. It ruins an actual movie for me, but I can't help it.
I mean, yeah, because you know you're gonna overthink a little bit. You're gonna like, hold on now, how the hell? When the fuck does he run out of bullets? Yeah, you know, it's just so
Yeah.
like, what was because obviously, you know, the deconstruction process is like a longer process than most people think. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one actually wakes up and just says, "Yep, fuck this." Like, so what? I guess what would you say was a catalyst for you to get curious?
Um, I think it. I have to disagree though that it seemed well. If you count all the years that I was not going to church and starting to slowly distance myself from religious people, ultra religious people, yeah, it was a slow deconversion. Um, but the idea of God and having and believing in God, that did fall away really quickly when I again had those quiet moments to think like, wait a minute, there's children on this planet starving right now, and this God is supposed to be all powerful. So he either doesn't care that it's happening, he's not stepping in to stop it. Never mind all the kids getting raped in church. Let's, you know, in his house, supposedly. So yeah, that happened rather quickly for me. That I think that probably took, um, yeah, it just, it just was that quick. I was like, that can't be right. And then when I started saying, okay, I don't believe that there's a God anymore, and then I was like, I wonder, how many people, how many Black folks really don't. And I felt pretty alone then. I mean, like I say, I wasn't part of a church anyway. So the social rejection was not a question. I was already out there on my own anyway.
Right, right.
I was in a interracial marriage, lived in predominantly white spaces. So I was already out there. I was like, oh, well.
Whoa. So I guess like, well, I guess I was more so speaking personally. Because I guess like, I mean, because obviously it does feel like, you know, wow, okay, it all shatters. But you know, I feel, I guess to me, like, I guess like when you look back in hindsight, you know, you just see like, I don't know, you just notice your stages. At least for me, I had like stages. So
Okay.
like in like growing up in the faith, like I was always skeptical anyway, because you know, I was 8 years old. My mom tried to tell me it was real because I remember she gave me these like children's Bible story books.
Hmm.
And I was like, this is interesting. This is an interesting story. It's like, yeah, that actually happened. I was like, oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
I trust you, mother. You'll never lie to me.
Sure.
So but it
That was why I was a believer, because your parents wouldn't tell you anything wrong. They
right.
trying to lead you in the right way. So yeah.
but yeah, and you know, and to like, you know, your friends' parents also believe, so they're parroting it just to you, and you see the president of your nation believing in it as well. So yeah, it's gonna stick with you. And
Hmm.
but yeah, I guess like,
Yes.
you know, yeah, just always being skeptical. So I was always like trying to fit, you know, reality into the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I mean.
Good
Like it
luck.
got to the point where I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe God just control alt deleted the dinosaurs, and that's why he's not talking about them in the book. You know what I mean?
Control.
He tried, but just whoop, nope. I got bored of you after trillions of years. Uh, yeah, but you go from that to okay, I don't think a dude killed a giant with a slingshot or nothing like that, but I still believe the resurrection is real. You know, to spiritual, like yeah. Well, I didn't go to the spiritual route. I think I went straight to atheist at that point. But
Hmm. Yeah, no,
yeah,
I hung on to this belief in God for, after I left the church. I was like, yeah. And it's not that anything bad happened to me at church. No, I actually have a
because
lot of nice memories from just the community of it, right? Um, but thinking that there's a God and that somehow I'm special in this God's eyes, and that's why I enjoy the life that I have, things like that. I'm like, ooh, no, no. It is the luck of where I was born. Had I been born in Turkey, I'd probably be Muslim. Had I been born in
right.
China, I'd probably be uh, a Buddhist, or you know. So that's what I hear you describing to me about your journey out of uh, faith.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and that's definitely yeah, I totally came to that conclusion too, like but you know what's funny, like, that death knell for me was because you know, like, I took a world religions class, you know, the semester before that summer. It was summer 2011, I lost my faith. But, you
okay.
know, I just remember thinking to myself, it's like, you know, I guess I hit slapped myself, I guess, I was like, well, hold on now. Like, how the fuck can they say in the beginning, but there's religions older than Judaism? And then, like, I remember my mind just,
Okay. Yes. Yeah. There's always some little thread of rationality that sticks up, and if you start to pull it, I'm probably not saying it right, but I think you might know what I mean. Like there's just this weird little thread, this little,
oh, yeah. And it starts to
you know,
unravel. Yeah. Yeah.
those little
You're on the
BBs
right track.
those little BBs that you get on your sweater. You start pulling, the next thing you know, you ain't got a
Yep.
sweater. You just up there with
Right.
a midriff, got that belly shirt on. Oh Lord, I said, oh Lord,
Like, hey, that's what
but
happened to your sweater. But yeah, and it's like, and I don't know. So either like when you finally just accepted that conclusion, because I don't know, did you feel like you kind of just knew that you felt that way, but you just didn't admit it to yourself yet, sort of?
hmm. Well, first I gotta say I came out. I'll call it came out, or realized and made that leap of made that decision that no, I don't believe there's a God. That was around 20. Yeah, about the same time, 2011, 2012.
Hey, all
Um,
right.
yeah, and so, but your question is, what was your question again?
Like, I don't know. It was like I guess like you know, I guess like when you finally admit it to yourself,
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was
like
great. Okay, sure. There was. I was a little. Sometimes I was angry. I was like, why did I believe that bullshit? Like, why?
yeah,
Oh, there was a little bit
yeah.
of that, but that quickly turned into, oh, I feel so free now. I feel like, because my whole thing is, if people are waiting on this God of the Bible and all these different gods to show their power and do great works in the world, I looked at my people and I was like, well, we've been around sitting here waiting for Jesus and God to come make things right for us here. For how long? And how long are we going to continue to wait for divine intervention? And we getting
Right.
shot in the street every day. I was like, well,
I know,
I
right?
think
And
I
we the
know what
most
I can
prayingest
do.
mother.
So that's why I was like, yeah, I'm not waiting for anybody to
It's
save
like
me.
it's like I'm covered in the blood, baby. I know because the police done shot your ass. You're covered in the blood,
Covered
all
in the
right.
blood.
Oh, hashtag whatever. See, that's what I mean. I'm so, but yeah, like for me, well, I'm glad that you felt because when I finally admitted to myself that I didn't believe anymore, I got scared.
Yeah. Mm.
Cause I was like, wait, so that means like, so what? There's no heaven. What the fuck are we here for? Is life truly meaningless? You know, I
Yeah.
freaked out for a little bit. Like,
Okay. Yeah, maybe I did, but I just don't recall it being so, like, I'm sure I must have thought, must have had, but no, not really. I felt this, I felt a lot of relief. I had already started thinking things like, well, shit, if I started thinking about this whole concept of heaven anyway, like, you mean I'm going to go to this place and all of the stuff that I should be going to hell for? I'm like, well, all the cool people are in hell anyway. All of,
and, and you know that's
there's some
what.
assholes down there, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But like they down there eating shrimp and wearing wool on Tuesday.
You know, we're in the forever church service. What the fuck?
Right, right. I'm like, oh man, I
But
remember church.
stand up, sit down, stand up,
So
sit down.
so no, I think I
But
probably did. I just
okay.
it's just been a while, but no, those were the the most memorable feelings about dropping religion and dropping blind faith, is that it was a sense of liberation, honestly.
And you know, and yeah, like once I got over like that fear, you know, I was angry for a bit. I was like,
Mhm.
these motherfuckers, god damn
The
it,
lies, the lies.
gaslit me into respecting. Cause you know, like, oh my gosh, like especially when you look back and I'm talking about the stories that they allowed into the children's Bible, okay?
Right.
Like you really think about it. What the fuck did the firstborns have to do with anything that the Pharaoh did? Why did you but he literally says it. Yeah, I just wanted to show off my glory, dude. He just wanted to be a dick. Like he made like citizens suffer. Okay? Like it wasn't just the lawmakers. The citizens are also getting boils and plagues and stuff and losing their children. Like so
Yeah.
I just,
It does kind of make you think about, your first question about being coerced into believing. Um, my folks were very strict. I mean, that the boomers, they didn't play about
oh my
parenting.
god, I know. Like
Children were to be seen, not heard. You did
mm.
what they said. If they had to repeat it, you know, you might have got gone upside your head, you know. So of course I'm like, yes, ma'am, and yes, sir. If this what the book say, I'm gonna read it with a straight face.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you think about all of those Bible stories where they're talking about, well, yeah, they were killing the firstborn, and you just read it like nothing.
Yeah, and it's because like you're reading, like you're a kid reading the Bible, like them children's Bibles will be like the Egyptians were very bad. So you're like, yeah, cool. Yeah.
Well, how many, yeah, I don't remember
Like
which, but I think some of those, well, of course, there's the David and Goliath story.
right.
Um,
The guy
and that
being
was,
swallowed by a big fish too, like
hmm, yeah. So, But yes, there's a lot of interesting passages in the Bible. It's wonderful stories. Stories. No dates in there. No dates at all. Just hullabaloo.
Yeah, and I remember being like as a high schooler going to church, like this pastor, he taught the gospel, but he was also hellfire and brimstone.
Mm.
So I remember feeling bad because I was like, okay, I rationally there's nothing wrong with gay people existing and having families, but this guy was like, no, they're insulting God. And I'm like, damn, they are insulting God though. What the fuck do I do? So
Insulting God.
it's like it's rough what Christianity like will put your mind through. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
So,
you shed it, you're like, oh, yeah, gay people are one of us. What the hell? Like, why the fuck was I even looking at their relationships as an insult to anything in the first place? Like,
again, you can just apply some simple logic. If God loves everybody and he created everyone, he
right.
created gay people, does God make mistakes? These are the kinds of questions I would ask whenever
But,
I heard some mess like that, I'd say,
but then they'll
well,
pull out, well, they're using their free will to be gay. I
free
mean,
will. It's not. It's as free as I felt reading those Bible passages with the weight of the whole church breathing down my neck. Like
oh no, you had to
with the
read in front
weight.
of everybody?
No, but I mean in a sense of like I was saying before, just that sense of obligation that you knew that if you messed up or if you didn't do what you were told, there were going to be consequences. So I don't know how much free will that is.
I feel what you mean.
You know what I mean? So I think that's not really true. Um, but the exercise of free will, I see people out here supposedly doing that, and I think for some people, um, the exercise of free will would be anything hedonistic. Um, I don't know where I'm going with that, but uh, I have to think about that a little more.
Hey, no worries, no worries. So so when did you get affiliated with Black Nonbelievers? Like, how did that come about? How did you discover them?
I discovered them online when I was still living up north, still married, and so I was thinking, where I, I I don't know. I was like, I'm really, really like isolating myself even further. Like I said, it wasn't a big black community anyway. I was in an interracial marriage, and and then to realize, no, there's not even a God, so I couldn't even go to the one little black church down the street. Like it was, but so that's when I went online. I started watching Atheist Experience with Matt Dillahunty.
Hey, shout out to
Used
Matt
to
Dillahunty.
Yeah, I watched Talk Heathen and some of the other shows, that the offshoots of that show. And then one day, I guess he either had Mandisa on, or I must have typed in the word "black atheist," and
Mm-hmm.
uh, then I saw Graydon Square. Uh,
Hey.
And so then I just was like, okay, I'm just going to start frequenting these communities online, Facebook at the time. I didn't do Instagram very much then. So it was mostly Facebook back in the 20 teens, 12s, 13s, and all of
Right.
that. And it really was great to know that I wasn't alone. And I was like, man. And, my life started going through all those changes with the marriage and everything. The kids were growing up. So I just said, I had planned to move down to the southeastern region of the country to be closer to my family. And I said, okay, there's a place that I can go to, make new friends and have some fellowship with like-minded folks. And that's how I got involved
And
with them.
And who'd have thought the Bible Belt of all places would be the place where you discovered the Black Nonbelievers, right?
I mean, that's where the black people are.
Right.
That's yeah,
So was
but
that
yes,
like was that like an issue in your household at the time, like when you were still living up there? Because you said you discovered atheist content online back then. So like, were you an open atheist up there around your family?
I kind of was. Now my ex-husband, he is of Middle Eastern descent, and he grew up in a Muslim culture, but he didn't practice either.
Okay. Okay.
So it was we were pretty much living a secular life, as it were. It was just this belief in God that was still, you know, part of yeah. And I don't, I can't speak for him exactly, but he would say things to the kids like God's watching you, this sort of thing. I used to do nightly prayers with my children up through middle school, you know, and then I told him, I said, you're free to try to, you can explore any religion you want to. I personally, I'm going to
Hmm.
tell you what I think and how I feel about it, and just continue to be your mom. And I, said open communication is all I'm looking for, and you're free to explore whatever religion you want to. And they're like, okay, cool, but they're also non-believers. They don't practice any religion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with the so hmm. So what was it like? Cause I guess that's what's so important about like just atheists existing out in the open, like because it does let people know like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one going through this, especially with Black non-believers. It's like, okay, I'm not the only Black person either. So you don't got to join those atheist groups where you're getting like
Yeah.
microaggressed and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. That was one thing I forgot to mention about Connecticut when I lived there. So yes, I did. I was coming out, and somehow on so there were lots of atheist Facebook groups, but they weren't Black atheist Facebook groups in Connecticut, right? And I joined one and found out there was actually somebody who worked the same place I worked, and connected with that person and said, and then I tried to start a meetup group at lunch because I wasn't really like out. My husband would have been like,
right.
like I say, he's very controlling and so worried about what I'm doing. Like it was ridiculous. So I tried to do like a little lunch thing. Nobody ever showed up. So, and then um, something this person said kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like I was just fresh out of faith, and realizing that I'd been played all this time, like that I had been finessed with this whole God concept. And then the person said something like, let me plant something in your brain. And I went, no, you're not, especially not looking like you, palm colored person. No.
Palm colored person.
No, no. So after that, I was like, ugh, let
Yeah,
me
because
just.
kind of like like when I was feeling all like despair or whatever, I remember somebody, and the funny thing too, like she was a Hindu, but she shared a video of some guy just explaining his views of the meaning of life, just as an atheist, and I was like, oh, so there is hope still.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, this is the.
I don't have to kill people. Because that's what they say, right? Like, oh, without God, you're gonna be murdering people
Oh,
and
right, right,
doing bad things because
right. It's pure projection. You typically, I find
I
it's
know, right?
pure
That is
projection.
such a self-report. It's like every time I hear somebody say that, I'm just like, okay, so you know what? You need to stay believing in God because I don't know what the fuck you're gonna do.
You're the one that's can't manage without somebody telling you what to damn do. It's
And it's funny
ridiculous.
because some of these preachers be living like God don't exist. Apparently, I mean, smoking meth with male prostitutes and
Having a good old time. See that's that free will. See, free will
yeah,
makes you
see,
want to smoke crack with prostitutes.
swindling money from poor people, like but like what?
Yeah.
And so you say you're a host of a program known as In the Cut. Now, what is that? Is that like a podcast or
In the cut
radio
is
show?
in the cut is a show um, produced by Black Nonbelivers Incorporated, a 501c3 organization headquartered in Atlanta, where we um, connect with blacks and allies who are living free
Blacks. What do
religion.
you mean by that?
That's
Racist.
black folks. Okay, black black
I'm
people
messing.
and other and other allies who are
You hear
living
white people say black, you're like,
the blacks. We
yeah.
like to be around the blacks. But so yes, allies also, but we're there to provide fellowship, information, friendliness to people who are not who do not practice a religion or atheists, and then that's just a place for us, a safe space, I'll call it, and that's
Mhm.
predominantly the voices that we feature are just for Black nonbelievers. But like I say, we've interviewed guests. We have guests on the show of all stripes, as long as they're allies and are uh, willing to allow everyone the freedom of thought.
Okay. And who like what was some of the most interesting topics you covered on In the Cut? Like what
Oh
was
man, so many. One that just right off the top of my head, we had a specialist on cults. This was someone who had been involved in several cults, found her way out of all the cults to now she's a non-believer. She is, I believe, a licensed clinical social worker. Um, so that was a good episode about cults. But if you maybe we can drop the links in the chat later,
okay.
because I right off the top of my head, I'm just floundering.
Oh yeah, if you can find some links, let's
Yes.
see. Do you have a let's
Let
see,
me
to
see.
your right, do you see a post a comment option?
Yeah,
If not,
yeah,
then you can put it in the okay, or you can put it in the private chat and I can copy and paste it into the comments. Either way.
yes, yes. In the
So
cut.
we can in the
We actually did a
cut.
live show from Dragon Con this year. I'm sorry,
How
in
was that?
2024.
How was that?
It was cool. Dragon Con and the pod and the show were great.
So like what was the turnout for the Dragon Con episode?
Our numbers are not big as far as watching. I will say that. I think the most we ever got was when we had FD Signifier
I
as a
remember that
guest. Yeah,
episode.
man.
Yeah,
Um,
that was how'd y'all score that? Like that was
I just said, hey, let's try to get FD Signifier on the show. And he was like, all right. And he was gracious and gave us some of his time. So,
yeah, that was really cool because like I remember hearing him. He was just like, he said, a black non what?
and I've heard him,
There's a group
recently.
like that.
I watched another one of his podcasts, and he did mention, yes, I'm not a believer, not religious. So I was like, so he was on the level. He was on the level, you know.
You know, I mean, he never really struck me as a religious guy, but I'm gonna say this. Permission to be controversial for a minute. Um, I think the term agnostic, like just as a solo term, I think is redundant
Hmm.
because I think that term applies to everybody when it comes to the God question, at least. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because you and I are agnostic, right? We don't know that God is not real. We just don't believe in it. So
Right. I don't
it's
know
like
for
I don't know.
sure,
I
but
always,
I
yeah,
don't
like
know for sure,
I mean,
but like I said, the proof. I don't see the proof.
right, and
From
that's
what
the
I've
thing
heard about
too.
what this entity is supposed to be, I don't see any proof. But I see lots of proof that human beings are doing all kinds of everything, good and bad,
Hmm.
right here.
Yeah,
So it's like a little 3-year-old child who, you know, breaks some, tips over your china cabinet. You run in the room and say, who did it? Oh, it was God. It was the snowman or Santa, whatever. Are
right,
human beings still at such an age of mental of childhood in a collective sense that we can't just fess up to what we're doing? We have to have,
right.
you know, are we still just three?
Because that's what I think. Like it's like because like when people say, "Oh yeah, I'm an agnostic," it's like so that means you. I mean, you clearly don't believe it, right? You just so yeah, like none of us actually know the answer. I'm just saying we just have an opinion. Like because even if you lean more towards the oh well, I mean yeah, I'm agnostic. I think there's a higher power. Then you're a deist. Just say that, you coward. I don't know. I think that's just my personal opinion. That's my controversial opinion. It's just like people only say agnostic because they're understandably afraid to call themselves capital A atheist.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. It is a term that just is really. I mean, let's be real. In some countries, it can still be detrimental to your actual health. It could
hmm
cause your unaliving.
right.
So,
Yeah, because the Nigerian atheist Mubarak Bala, that's his name.
hmm, haven't heard
Yeah,
of
he
him.
was. Yeah, he was recently freed from prison in Nigeria because I think the part of Nigeria he was living in, like they have anti blasphemy laws due to
Uh
Islam,
huh.
of
Uh huh.
course.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, he's finally out of prison, but it's just like you still got to worry because the fundamentalists
Mhm.
they'll take the
Mhm.
law into their
Yeah.
own hands if they got to. So I know he'll be
Yeah.
looking up. Well, he's been looking over his shoulder. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like yeah, some
So
countries, even if the state doesn't do it, your fellow citizens might.
right, and it's pretty unsettling here to see, how we are moving towards, this blending of religion and state. It's been happening. It never really, um, we never really got to a true state of secularism here in the states, and
Right.
now it's moving back towards that, and it's unsettling to see that.
Because they're getting more and more blatant about it too. It's like,
Mhm.
I mean, Oklahoma, right? Got the 10 Commandments up.
Yeah, crazy. Oh, and also,
Like,
I think they said they were going to put the Trump Bibles in school.
what?
So,
Well, I mean, first of all, Bibles in school is bad already. I mean, unless the student themselves are bringing their own Bibles, which they're free to do. But
but then they
the
have to,
Trump version,
yeah, yeah, bring your Bible, but then you can't. You could only do that on lunch break or after school. You see,
yeah, because
and
yeah,
but I would, if I knew a way to, hmm, mark out and bookmark all of the naughty bits in the Bible. And actually, I think there was a book that did that. All the all the racy, sexy parts.
oh,
I if I find the name of that book, I'm
yeah,
gonna send that.
yeah. You get to read about incest. Lot and his daughters.
Yeah, it was a good time. They were
You
having a good
know,
time.
And that's the thing too, is it's like you read back at that story, you're taught to think he's a good guy. Like, hey, don't rape these strangers. Have my daughters instead. What? And that's what I mean. Like, you
Threw
just
him
feel
right
so
under the bus.
gaslit. You just feel so gaslit. It's like, hold on, bro. Like, I was supposed to respect this character, the character who says slavery is okay. I was supposed to respect him. Get the fuck out of here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because I know like you're not necessarily like a rah rah atheist, but it's just like, and I get it to an extent. Like, yeah, let people live. But at the same time, if I'm just posting on my own personal Facebook page or whatever, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna let it fucking fly. Okay, like I'm sorry.
You,
I'm sorry you believe a Jewish wizard walked on water. Okay, that is not my problem. Be mad at
you're
yourself.
sorry. You're sorry, not sorry.
Right, because it's like, like Edith, like I bet you'll just like type a little status like blah da 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 da, probably share like a funny little meme making fun of creationism. You'll get that one like religious person typing a whole paragraph. Well, just so you understand, I believe
Yeah, I
something bigger
did.
than myself, and you're not gonna.
I did. I dipped my toe in that water on my Facebook page with all my friends in old high school, all my school chums and everything. And yeah, I had a couple that came back with the whole sermon. I'm like, thank you for
It's like a
playing.
wall of text that they know you're not gonna read. By the way, it's like, how dare you
Oh yeah. And then
disrespect my
they'll keep
God?
praying for me and all of these things. And it's just like,
Mm.
bruh, it's okay.
Or what?
I'm
What
gonna
was
be
what was some of the like stuff that was said to you? Like, did anyone accuse you of wanting to sin or anything like that? Or
To be honest, on my Facebook page, there's been so little other than like my coming out post
mm-hmm.
and maybe one other post. But no, everybody was like, "Oh, you poor girl. We'll
Oh
pray for
no,
your
not the
soul."
not the pity.
You know, it was the pity. It was, oh, how could she be so I'm like, do you not remember me in high school? What you worried about?
Right.
Do you not remember me what are you worried about? So yeah, but yeah, it was like, well, we'll pray for you, my sister. We gonna
Okay. But
and the Lord
atheism, that's that white people shit, Edith. What you doing?
what?
Nah, they be like, atheism, that's that white people shit, girl.
Oh,
We black around here. We gotta believe in a Hebrew God.
hmm, hmm. Yeah, I still, the word God still slips into my vernacular.
Of course.
I say, "Oh Lord," I'm trying to not do that because I don't know.
I mean, well, these are also like, these are like cultural phrases here. So saying like, oh my God, or thank God or whatever, like, these are phrases you grew up with forever. And it's like, when theists think it's a gotcha, like, oh, you said thank God. It's like, shut the fuck
I
up,
guess
man.
it really depends on context also, because you say, "Oh
Mm-hmm.
God," and you're really not trying to call on God,
Right, like when you're in the bedroom, you know what
pretty
I'm
much.
saying? It's like you're not calling him right now. It's a whole nother context.
Not like he'd intervene anyway. So
I mean, well, he
anyway,
did get in between the marriage of Joseph and Mary, apparently. So,
oh yeah, he's like, "Move over, Joseph. Show you how it's done, boy."
And it's so funny too because people be like, don't compare God to the Zeus. I'm just like, well, what are you talking about? I mean, he's a bit more homicidal than Zeus, but he kind of does the same stuff. I mean, hell, he raped a teenager, didn't he? Like,
Yeah, he was all about putting babies in everybody. So it's whatever. When you're God, you can do that. You can stand
Oh
on
my
Fifth Avenue
god.
and shoot somebody.
and
Anyway.
and that's and that's what confused me too. Like this man Trump goes against everything, you know, these loud and these loud Christians are against.
Hmm.
Somehow, some way, he is God's chosen president. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
what did y'all even read your book? Like, what what is going on?
Um, I think that, and maybe I don't know very many atheists who follow Trump, so I can't say as a whole monolith, but I get the sense that a lot of people who follow Donald Trump were raised in the church and were uh, they're preconditioned to just believe a leader. They're preconditioned
Mm.
to be whoever has the microphone. Um, and so this feels just like, in a way, another type of religious experience for them, where
Mm.
they're just acting on faith, and so yeah, it just
I mean, yeah, you
go
kind of hit
along.
the nail on the head with that one there, Edith. Because I mean, look, like all the bullshit that they're willing to believe that has been thoroughly debunked,
Hmm.
but they're gonna believe it anyway. Like the Haitians eating cats and dog shit. I'm sure if you go to a Trump rally, they will be repeating that like like it is the absolute truth.
Yeah, it
And
does boggle the mind that, yeah, it does boggle the mind that he could get up there looking so ridiculous in front of the world and say that, and now he's president. So what does that say? Again, I say, what does that say about our fellow Americans?
right, because
What does
and
that
'cause that's
say?
the thing. It's like because like when people were analyzing Harris's loss, like yeah, I mean sure, there's a lot of things the Dems could have done better,
Oh yeah,
but at the same time, it's like I mean sometimes Americans can just be trash, yo. Like I mean, we can just be dumb as hell, like like because he
right.
won
And
by a
I know,
margin. So
no, I don't. I wouldn't consider myself the smartest, the sharpest tool in the shed. Um, not really intellectual, but back in 2016, I remember thinking, are we really that gullible? I
precisely,
wanted to say the word stupid, but it's really about gullibility, I think,
yeah,
and that made me sad.
but I mean, I mean, I definitely use that word because I didn't stay up for the election that night,
Oh,
back in
like back in
2016,
November.
so I woke up.
Oh,
Hmm?
oh, back in
No,
November.
well, yeah, both 2016 and this year. But no, I was talking about the 2016 election. I ain't stay up for that one, but I woke up and I heard Donald Trump's president. I was like, we're dumb as fuck. Oh my god, like we really put him in office
What were
because
you?
he
Was
started
it
off
past
as a
your
joke.
bedtime?
Remember? Yeah, it was. Oh man,
Um,
because
yeah, no, I was fully awake, and it was a bad night. I just was sat there and I said it out. I was
yeah, I
like,
know
"We're
you was
fucked."
probably like, what the hell? Like they really wanted this guy.
I just sat there and said, "We're fucked," and
So,
still are.
but now it's like we're even more fucked because he's smart enough now to surround himself
Now,
with some yes men.
yeah,
So
now he's just like, forget the Vaseline. We just going hard, dry. Just
he said no Vaseline like Ice Cube, but I was like, what do you mean, Ice Cube? But
no baby oil, nothing. Just
shit, Diddy bought it all.
drill, baby, drill. We gotta get that baby oil. Okay, let me stop.
Oh my goodness. We are coming up upon the hour. Miss Edith, aka Free to Be Me, thank you for joining.
Thank
Really, I
you.
really appreciate you joining the podcast. Tell the people where they can find
This was
you.
a very good conversation. I'm on Instagram at Frida Be Me. I also have another Instagram page called Lilith No God No King. I will get those all those links to you after the podcast. You know, so and you can put them in the comments. Does this go to YouTube as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so yeah, by the time hopefully I'll get it all together and you can post it in the comments. But right now, Free to Be Me is mainly where you'll find me on Instagram, and then you can find me on the first and third Saturday of every month on In the Cut.
And what's the YouTube page to that? Which I'm assuming you'll send me
I
the
think
link to that as well.
it's In the Cut, Black Nonbelivers. Gosh,
All
I'm so
right.
bad at this. I'm still learning this whole social media podcasting thing. I'm all
Oh, look, trust me, yeah. Like I don't like even though I'm a millennial, like I don't be posting like that. I just like, ew, I gotta post every day. What the fuck? No, I'm just gonna post when I feel like it. I mean, that's why my audience is kind of abysmal right now. But hey, you know what? I still talk to interesting people.
yes,
But thank
and
you
thank
once again,
you,
Miss Edith. And
thank
this
you,
has been
Tenzin.
another episode.
You
Thank you. And this has been another episode of the SOS podcast. I am your host, Tenzin, one third of the SOS. B could not make it, but we also had the lovely Free to Be Me, aka Edith Gray. Please check her out on In the Cut every first Saturday or first and third Saturday.
correct.
Every first and third Saturday. And also, if you're in the Atlanta area, please, please, please make some donations to the Black Nonbelievers. They are a 501c3. It's a better investment than your local church. All right. Y'all take care now.
All right. Bye bye.